So yeah, this is a suspension system that I've had in my head for a long time. I wanted to do dual push rod, and we'll go through the design process of all these components and setting the mates and stuff, but just wanted to explain sort of how this works. So each side of the suspension is riding on double wishbones, and we have these little push rod arms here connected from the bottom A arm to these shocks. And so you can sort of see as it articulates up and down, the force from the lower A arm gets pushed through that push rod arm and into this pivot arm, and then that goes into the shock. And I'm using these King bypass shocks here. These are actually technically bump stops, but they have a little bypass tube on them. And it was a really great model that I had pre-existing from the other off-road designs, and it was the right length because the reduction here for 12 inches of wheel travel, the push rod's mounted in the middle of this arm, so it only has 6 inches of stroke. And so I have these little bypass shocks on both sides with another torsion bar in the middle. And because this torsion bar is really short, I don't expect it to deflect that much in angle, meaning that the front is going to stay really flat. And then the other consideration was these are just shocks, but they're not springs. So I needed a spring as well. And that's what you see here in the middle. This is, in this configuration, the center spring is called a heave spring. And if you connect that spring to the torsion bar, this has all of the load bearing for the weight of the vehicle. And then these shocks just take care of the dampening. And so the way that I did that was this push rod arm has a concentric mate to the torsion bar, and that rotation is locked with some little splines in here. So I'll make some things transparent so you can see. So you can see the splines here on the torsion bar. Those interface with this pivot arm to lock it in rotation. And then on this one, since I couldn't get splines in the center of this torsion bar, the heave spring arm is just pinned through. So these are some little 1/2-inch pins that go through the torsion bar. And then as this pivot arm moves up and down, its rotation is locked to the heave spring arm, and it imparts a force on the spring to support the weight. And so that's how that works. I think this is a really cool setup. It's a really nice compact way to do pushrod suspension, and it's a way to combine components where the pivot axis is the torsion bar and the torsion bar imparts the load on the heave spring. And then just a regular steering rack here. I found this really cool model on GrabCAD for the steering rack, and it works really nice. And I just had to make an adapter plate to lower the pivot points for the steering tie rods. So let's jump into the time lapse.